What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Brock and Jeff.
How's it going?
And today, it's your lucky day because it's our Legends of the Galaxy special. And this week's wrestlers are Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, or Legion of Doom. Let's see, where's the glare? There we go.
I'll tell you right now, like I've been a little under the weather. I really want to give you a what a rush right now, but I don't think I can. I don't think
Just
I could
try.
do it justice.
Mike will do it.
No, I'm good.
I'll try. Oh, what a rush.
And then
That
of
was
course
good.
the tell him Hawk, and he's like, well,
We should tell him, Brock.
yeah, tell him Brock.
Well,
That's the first thing that sticks out to me though. I mean, since we're gonna get into it with the Road Warriors, that the interview. I
mm-hmm.
mean, yes, they were larger than life, and yes, they were amazing, but the
They were
interview was, oh man,
nonsensical.
I love it, love it.
See,
They were
when
fun.
I first saw the Road Warriors, they were in the AWA at the time.
hmm
They had just entered. They weren't the champs yet. And I remember some of those interviews could not get past, the interviews now, like Hawk. He goes, I had a girlfriend once. She broke my heart. So I broke her jaw.
Yeah, that wouldn't pass the test today.
He's a man's man.
And they had an amazing video. I used to love, and they sang it. The Road Warriors sang their theme song. I don't know if you guys even knew that happened.
No.
No, I will say my first experience with the Road Warriors was also AWA though. I had when I was a child, and these were my all-time favorite wrestling figures, the Rimcos,
I had those
and
too.
and I had the Road Warriors because they came with the tag belts, and I used those as my championship and my Intercontinental at the time because I didn't have any other belts.
Mm-hmm.
So they were an important part of my growing up and having my own wrestling fed.
That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
growing up, we got AWA and NWA. I didn't have WWF. And so, I'd see the Road Warriors on TV and in magazines. They were. I remember when I first started buying PWI, they were the tag team of the year for like 3 or 4 straight years.
Mm-hmm.
They were dominant. I mean, they're the most dominant tag team of my lifetime, hands down.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget the Dudley Boys.
They weren't as dominant. They've won more titles. They won them in more federations. I can appreciate the Dudley Boys for what they are. But Hawk and Animal, I mean, what other tag team has been emulated as much as them?
Oh, I mean, nobody.
Nobody. I mean, there
Let's
was like
rattle 'em
five,
off.
six different
Demolition,
trials.
Powers of Pain.
Yeah.
Um,
and
why am I drawing a blank?
they were the first team to hold all 3 world titles.
Yeah.
And
I think the only team to win all 3.
yeah, I don't know
world
if there was ever another
Yeah,
team that, because the
can't think of
AWA,
anyone.
NWA, and WWF were huge. I mean, that was wrestling at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else that even held. No, because the AWA, by the time they were starting to fizzle out, yeah, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily we have Google. We should probably use it in these situations. I don't want to be that wrong in life.
Yeah, no one will check.
I'm pretty sure.
None of these legends people that love wrestling and probably would know off the top of their head will ever check this, right?
No, they're going to fact check us. We're the authority around here.
I don't feel like very authoritative right now.
Yeah, like it was, I think it was Steven Regal and Jimmy Garvin and the Freebirds that beat the Road Warriors for the AWA World Titles in a match that had so much outside interference.
Wasn't that every AWA title change though?
You'd think Dusty was booking the AWA.
Yeah, I mean they so emulated and ripped off, and I mean they defined that generation.
Oh yeah, like
They really
saw
did.
them I saw them when they went to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a show called Pro Wrestling Plus, and it was wrestling from all over the world. And that's when I'm like, I saw them with the IWGP tag titles.
Yeah, we could throw that on the list too.
And it was like, whoa. and they wore capes. They had the spikes, the football spikes, but they had capes. over there. which
They
was
there were
just
even
weird.
Japanese wrestlers that ripped them off.
Oh yeah,
Kenzuki Sasaki was the Power Warrior for a long time, and he basically was a Road Warrior.
yep. I think he subbed in for them the odd time.
He did whenever Hawk was injured, I think.
Yeah, we'll say injured.
I think it was a legit injury that time. But and that was part of what caused the falling out between him and Animal there in the early 90s, I think, was that Animal kept going with the Road Warriors gimmick without him.
Yeah, and then they had their big heel turn in the AWA when they beat up the Dust, drove the spike into him, and then Dusty just left to the he got fired and went to the WWF. You weren't allowed to bleed.
Yeah,
He okayed the bleed. He okayed the blood.
Yeah, I think that you're accurate in your AWA, NWA, WWF situation here, because the only teams I could even think of that were even in each was you had the Midnight Rockers, Jannetty and Michaels, and they had a very short stint. The NWA they were in were Central States Wrestling, so they actually had the NWA Central State Tag Team Championship. But the odd thing about them is while they were Tag Team of the Year in 1989 and PWR Wrestling Observer, they never did capture the WWF tag titles.
No, and the Freebirds, I don't think they captured. They were in the WWF till Andre had them kicked out, and I don't think they captured any of the world titles.
Like the Destruction Crew was there. That's Wayne Bloom and Mike Enos that were more popularly known as the Beverly Brothers, and they never captured WWF or NWA, but they had the AWA. Yeah, it's just I think you're right. I think that as far as greatest tag teams, I mean, Road Warriors, Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them, are number one all time. I don't even think they had competition in their era
no.
until really the Steiner brothers got over.
Mm-hmm.
I think when Scott and Rick got over, and that's really why at the time I wanted to watch NWA/WCW when they were in that transition, was because of their tag division.
Well, it became also they became so popular, it became known as the Road Warrior Pop,
Mm-hmm.
where they'd have the loudest cheers.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I think it was SummerSlam '92 whenever they returned to WWF, and they had Paul Ellering
Sonny?
with them, and they came out with on the motorcycles. I think it was in Wembley Stadium. That was probably the biggest pop I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I'm not going down that category. I mean, the whole Stone Cold era, so
Yeah,
many
but that
loud
was
pops.
smaller buildings every week.
I don't know. There's been so many big pops over the history of
You want to know
wrestling.
what the loudest pop I ever was a part of in my life was Eugene.
Oh gosh.
Interfering in an Iron Man match between Triple H and Chris Benoit at the Civic Arena.
And I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent. I like to stay on topic. Nick Dinsmore was a fantastic technical wrestler to be given that character.
Yep.
And I read Road Warrior Animal's book, and it was really cool because he's in the book he's completely opposite. He's humble. He talks about how when he started out he got trained. He's working for Don Owens, and he's living off canned tuna. He's dropping weight because he can't get enough protein to keep his muscles. He's thinking of quitting. He starts the Road Warrior gimmick because he was the first one. Then they teamed him up with Hawk, and the rest is kind of history.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to go to wrestling conventions and whatnot. I have met Animal. I've taken the photo and the shoulder pads. Not the real shoulder pads, obviously. They're like a one that he has for shows. And that was a pretty cool experience. I've actually met his son too. The football player. So James Laurinaitis. I got to meet him at the Super Bowl when it was in Indianapolis. He was one of the guests that signed autographs and stuff at the Fan Fest. And he talked. We talked wrestling for a couple of minutes because, I like football, but I love wrestling. So I talked to him about it. He's like, actually, after I leave here after these autographs, I'm flying out to the Rumble to join my uncle. At the time, his uncle was the one running the show.
Because
that was really cool. Yeah, Johnny Ace.
So I used to get Vancouver wrestling. It was called All Star Wrestling. And back then they had a guy named Crusher Von Haig, which was Hawk. So that's where, and he still had the giant traps and everything. And, so it was weird, you even go back, I've seen the, I never saw Road Warrior Animal wrestle singles. I knew he did, but I did see Road Warrior Hawk when he was Crusher Von Haig wrestle as a single. But I didn't put two and two together until much later in life. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Hawk had a pretty good singles career.
Oh,
He did.
I thought he was, well, easily he was a better wrestler of the two.
And he's definitely more athletic. I mean, Animal was the more muscular, but Hawk was just, I mean, he was really muscular too, but he was more athletic.
Yeah, he'd come off the top rope and stuff. And
yeah.
I didn't realize how powerful Hawk was until I saw him pick up Jerry Crusher Blackwell and slam him like it was nothing.
It was a real shame, late in his career when WWE used, or WWF at the time, used his actual real life problems in their storylines with his alcoholism and trying to replace him with draws and stuff. That was a shame. I mean,
yeah,
it was rough to watch.
It was so unnecessary too.
Yeah. They even did that spot where they acted like he was going to commit suicide. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Up the Jumbotron and was going to jump off it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like you're watching your heroes fall, and it's like, I don't want to see that. That was unnecessary.
Yep. Absolutely. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't funny. It was just in poor taste.
Oh, yeah.
But, that was the we need to shock people era.
Yep. They did the same thing to Scott Hall, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they did the thing to Jake Roberts. I mean, Jake Roberts, at least when he was a born-again Christian, turned out well, or we would have never had Austin 316. But, I mean, it worked. But, again, it was sometimes you need that separation, especially when they're heroes for people.
Right.
So if we move on to the next step of our legends.
Yeah, what kind of now that we can use these guys in a fantasy situation, what kind of matches would you like to book them in the Legends of Wrestling card game? I mean, it's kind of hard because there's nobody really on their level.
No.
I mean, but one of the biggest shames is when they were brought to WWF and they never let Demolition beat them, not once. And I know it may sound blasphemy because it's the Road Warriors and because they're amazing, but I liked Demolition better. And that's probably because I was a product of the WWF environment. I know I had the Rimcos of AWA and whatnot, but I still saw, Axe and Smash more frequently. And I really liked the Smash character. I thought the face paint was cooler. S&M aside, I did not know what S&M was back then. So their outfits were as corny. But I mean, in the Legends game, we could hypothetically get that with a Bill Eadie and a Barry Darso character. Now we'll never get Demolition. But just to see them go over once, I hate when they build up a feud like that and they don't give one side anything ever.
Yeah.
I mean, they did the same thing with one of my favorites, and I don't want to go off too much of a tangent here, but The Rock and Booker T. I was so disappointed with the way they presented WCW and the invasion angle. I'm like, you got to let them win sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, this is their world champ. Like,
Booker T came across as a complete goof in that
he did. And all they had to do is let him win a time or two on Raw or SmackDown or anything. And it was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to admit that they're better than us in any way. And it's like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's still a great athlete.
When I first saw the Demolition come down, I was like, immediately I'm like, okay, that's a Road Warrior ripoff.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get behind them because I was like, I couldn't get behind them because I just couldn't get it through my head that this is a ripoff.
Yeah. And
then
I'm sure a lot of the older generation had that. I didn't.
And I'm watching them and they captured the tag titles. And it was like 6 months into their tag, and I'm like, wow, they still got the belts. And it's like 8 months, they still got the belts. And a year, they still got the belts. And I'm like, okay, who's going to beat them? Now, I didn't expect the Brainbusters to beat them.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the whole Brainbusters thing at that age. I really was like, you get those guys, especially the technical wrestlers or the guys that are known for their excellent work ethic in the ring. But as a child, all I wanted was my guys to be larger than life superhero or super villain types. I didn't get the Brainbuster shtick.
If you watch that match, Tully takes a chair shot in the back of the head from Smash, and it's legit. Tully didn't know where he was for like 30 seconds.
Wow.
He said, and it caused actual heat between them.
I would
He
assume
said
so.
he didn't have to hit him that hard.
So if you're interested, I've got your list of the Demolition and 8 other teams that blatantly ripped off the Road
Okay.
Warriors.
Okay, let's hear it.
Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Number 9, the Powers of Pain. Obviously,
You mentioned them. Yes.
We mentioned them. Yeah. 8 is Rick Bogner and Mike Awesome. If you remember them, they were Big Titan and Gladiator.
Oh, that's
They were in
right.
Japan, and they had the face paint and whatnot. Which I'm a big Mike Awesome guy. I liked him so.
But then the other guy became the fake Razor Ramon.
Yeah. No, not a good gimmick. Next up is a more modern one, the Ascension.
Okay.
Obviously was a modern take on the Road Warriors. You have, and everybody will know these 2 wrestlers, but they might not remember the tag team because I remember them, but briefly, the Blade Runners.
Yep.
Ultimate Warrior and Sting.
Warrior.
Yep.
The Dingo Warrior.
Then you have Authors of Pain. Obviously, they came out with Paul Ellering, and they were all geared up and stuff. The Viking Raiders are kind of a ripoff on the Legion of Doom. Master Blasters. Do you remember that one?
That's with Kevin
Nash. And then Blade was the other guy's name. It was Blade and what was it? Iron or Blade as one half of the Master Blasters. So they were
forgot about
Kevin
them.
Nash with a red mohawk.
Yes.
Yeah, red mohawk. And then of course you had the Legion of Doom 2000, which was, Animal and Draws. And then you had Demolition, which is the most famous one. So that was their list of 9 tag teams that were blatant ripoffs.
Nice.
Yeah, I think with the teams we have now, I'd like to put them against the Midnight Express more.
Yeah.
Because that's who beat them for the end of, there was so much interference and
Cornette,
everything in the world for them to drop the titles. And the Midnight Express were such a great tag team. I'd put those in a series of matches.
That'd be good. You could even do the Rock and Roll Express now too.
Yeah.
I liked the Fabulous Kangaroos just because I thought it was a different era, kind of.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect of it because I wanted to see them because all I knew was a world dominated by the Road Warriors, Legion of Doom. So I wanted to see another solid tag team from a different era that could compete with them.
I like that.
Or you could even make stuff up like Bundy and Stud.
Yeah, the Heenan family. That could be good. Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, there's the roster is so stacked now.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem with this premise of fantasy matches. I don't even know if I can name the whole roster now.
Yeah.
It's so vast. I mean, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
But I'm not as current as some people on the Legend set, so I usually see the updates. And a lot of the times, I feel like the Legend sets recently are guys that were before my era. So I may not have memories of them, so it's harder for me to remember they were signed.
Yeah. Like I've been watching wrestling since 1980.
And I'm not far behind you, but I was a littler kid. I mean, I was really watching in 1985, 86.
Yeah.
But I was viewing it from a kid's set of eyes. I was 5 years old.
Same. It's different.
It is. We don't retain as much.
So I remember things like that. Certain things will always stick out. Like I remember watching, and it's the one time I saw the Road Warriors. The first time I ever saw them really pushed, like somebody almost beating them. They wrestled in Canadian International, and they were the AWA Tag Team Champions, and they're taking on Dino Bravo and Rick Martel. And Dino Bravo was the Canadian International Heavyweight Champion, and Rick Martel was the AWA World Champion in a tag match. And it ended in a DQ, but everybody in that match had some form of world title. It was
that's cool.
What about fantasy booking them against some ECW guys that may not have rules and may be able to use like the kendo stick, like a Sandman Just Incredible or something like that? I feel like that could be really fun. Or even Rob Van Dam Sabu. I mean, it's a different attack, but to have that high flyer versus the power kind of thing.
That'd be good.
When you're talking RVD and Sabu, those guys would do anything to win. You add in a Bill Alfonso distraction and you're in.
I'd like to see that in real life now that you mention
it. A little late for that.
Yeah.
Well, it was what's his name? the guy who ran ECW,
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. He said if there was 2 wrestlers he could build a promotion around, it was Hawk and Bobby Eaton.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful Bobby.
Yep. One of the most
Two
underrated.
guys you could build a promotion around.
I think Bobby Eaton was just, number one, he was kind of wrong time period, and 2, he wasn't one of those muscular guys.
Yeah.
His match against Arn Anderson for the TV title it's a great match. It's only like 15 minutes long. It's got one of my favorite combos on the mic in Dusty Rhodes and Jim Ross. Surprising, and Dusty Rhodes is a surprisingly good announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Which shocked me, but so if we switch gears,
Okay.
and we bring these guys to the GWF, how would you use them? Now the answer is kind of obvious. Since the Gladiators are a Road Warrior ripoff,
Allegedly.
do you make them join the Gladiators, or do you make them feud the Gladiators?
I would bring them forward in time to feud with the Gladiators.
I think I'd give them, just after what I've seen in GWF, I'd give them the alternative approach as, bringing them into the CPC as a team to go against the Gladiators and New Order.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Drags to add a third combination. Since I'm trying to put them in the GWF timeline.
Like, I don't even think you need like anything sci-fi with these guys. You can plug them in as is.
With names and all.
Name and everything.
Animal's not that different than Wolf.
No.
Like
Hawk's not that different than Raven. It's perfectly feasible.
I would say, I think around 87, 88, I made bootlegs of these guys. They're the only 2 of pros that I made bootlegs of,
mm-hmm.
but I made them Any-Man. So
okay.
Hawk was, Hawk.
Bird.
Yeah.
Animal, I called them Animalia. And they were Any-Men that had joined the Gladiators to feud the other Any-Men. Because I figured if Wolf could do it.
Yeah, there you go. Another idea I have is like cloning by somebody to try and compete with the Gladiators, and these guys appear as a result.
Let's get them in the Trans-Evolver, see what happens.
Yeah.
Go through the cleansing.
There you go.
They go from black and white to color.
Oh my gosh. It's
can you
Wizard
imagine
of Oz.
giving these guys a cleansing? That would be amazing.
Would the Doomsday device be a +6 then, or
what is it now? It's a +3,
+4.
Right? Oh, it's +4. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty strong already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys are solid.
Well, and they fall in the same vein as Andre to me. Not quite as much as Andre, but you put them in your Fed and they're going to dominate. Eventually, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You almost have to use them as a special attraction. Like, I can't believe they're here. It's the Road Warriors. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to use them.
I almost think they would fit in better in a Champions of the Galaxy Fed. As far as like a mainstay.
Yeah, if you're going to keep them, there's more competition for them.
Right. Yep. For sure.
Ooh, one team I didn't think about that we could have them face is the Pit Bulls.
Oh yeah, that's good ECW. They dominate, but
yeah. But it's still, they had that kind of look, like.
Mm-hmm. They had the dog collars with the spikes on it and stuff. Nice.
There's lots of teams where you could go that route. Like the hardcore route, or the brawler, like throw them against the Vachons.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't say the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are in the game now.
Yeah, that's true.
I know it's not quite, with Dynamite Kid being rather small, and Davey Boy was the powerhouse, but they're in the game now, and I think that would make an interesting matchup. But I don't think they ever met in their prime,
they kind of were in opposite places the whole time.
Yeah, until Dynamite was gone.
Yeah, because I was going to say, because Dynamite left just because this is the one thing I remember. When Rougeau punched Dynamite in the face, with the quarters. That was the Brainbusters' first day on the job. They walk into that mess.
I remember hearing that story.
And they were like, what the hell just happened?
Knocked out my chompers. Is that the quote?
It reminded me, I was listening to a story about, because you're wearing your Reds cap, with Rob Dibble. And do you remember when Dibble fought the manager?
Lou Piniella, yes.
Lou Piniella?
Yeah, all over the locker room.
So if you watch it, and I've seen this, that they one of the guys is scanning, and you see Bip Roberts, and it's his first day. He'd only been with the club like 20 minutes. He had just got there, and he's just changing, and he just sees a fight happen in the locker room, and you just see the look on his face, like, what am I doing here?
That's because you're obsessed with Bip Roberts. Nobody else in that video was watching Bip Roberts but you.
But it was funny, because when I watched the interview with Rob Dibble, he's the one that pointed it out. He's like, Bip was literally like, what the just comes from San Diego to here, and within his first 10 minutes, I'm fighting the coach.
Hey,
I don't mean to take away from what you're saying. It's just hard to find matches for them. I'm scrolling through the Legends roster. Yep. I'd like to see them against, Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs. They'd get destroyed.
Yep.
I mean, but I think that's an interesting combo. We have, the Quebecers to an extent now, right?
The Quebecers are in there.
Yeah, we've got both Rougeaus. So, that's another one that we could see. And I know we saw them a time or two in real life, but yeah, there's so many options.
Yeah. That might have to be something I do on stream, where I just pick the Road Warriors against any tag team in Filsinger Games lore, whether GWF, Legends, Indie, whatever.
Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda
versus Gladiator Vanguard, or the Ultimate Gladiators, right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'm sure it's been done.
I'm sure it has.
As soon as we got those cards, people were like, "Oh, look, now we can finally play it."
Yep, because that's what we wanted.
Bob and Brad Armstrong.
There you go.
You could do Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Bagwell. They were a tag team for a while.
You could do the Patriot and Marcus Bagwell.
There you go. Who doesn't like Buff? How can you not like Buff?
You do Ted DiBiase and Virgil.
I'm looking at the most runs. You got, I already mentioned the Kangaroos. You got the Fantastics are pretty good. The Fabulous Ones.
Yeah, there's some. Recently we've gotten a lot.
Jack and Jerry Briscoe.
The Moondogs.
Yeah.
The Moondogs versus Road Warriors. You could probably throw them in a cage match or some kind of, I would say Titan death match, but Texas death match or whatever.
I don't know whose
people call it.
I don't know whose rankings these are. I think they're Travis Heckles. I think he has his own rating system, but he has the Road Warriors at 116. You got Steve Williams and Ted DiBiase are 113. Well, so they're right there. The Bulldogs are 112.
Oh, Doc and Gordy would be good.
The Miracle Violence Connection.
Yeah, Miracle Violence Connection. I don't see them on here. Where are they?
So yeah, there's quite a few teams you could probably put them against, but not for long periods of time. Because I think over a long period of time, they're just going to dominate.
Oh, they're definitely winning a series.
Yeah.
But you might be able to sneak a couple wins in here or there.
Yep.
Even Brian Myers and Matt Cardona have a decent rating.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't know what rating you're talking about.
I think Travis made his own ratings. It's similar to the Lord Raw, but slightly different.
Yeah, I don't even. Somebody tried to explain the Raw ratings to me, and I'm like, I've always just had my 1 through 5 and just stuck with it.
The Raw ratings were good. They're a good starting point.
Yeah.
Cards don't always finish how they look, but they're close. And then I think that Travis took it another step. He's explained it in the Discord before.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
We should get ready to wrap this up.
Yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you have not yet, please click on that subscribe button. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and we'll do more of these in the future. 2 thumbs up. Hey, can we get all of them?
No. Oh, wait, sorry.
Right. There's our thumbnail. Okay. Please check out our friends who do Filsinger Games related content. They're all listed below. We have the official Filsinger Games podcast, Roll Up, the Legends team's Uncharted Territory, Lee Longpre's Dizzy Dice, the Filsinger Games fan cast from Grant. And here on YouTube, we have Dave Little's Heartland Championship Wrestling, as well as solo promoter also from Grant. And after further review, and then also below, you'll find my Twitch information and all that fun stuff. Thanks, everybody. And anybody else have anything to add? Or
Nope.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up with a well.
What a rush.
There you go. That's what I was fishing for. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Night.
Night.